Great. Good evening. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Kevin Schulman. I'm the director of the MCiM program, and I'm joined tonight by Lisa Sandoval, who's going to help me with this, who's our program assistant. So we have a fun lineup tonight. We will give you some basic information about the program, talk a little about the application process, and then we've invited one of our faculty members, one of our mentors, and one of our current students to join us about halfway through the program. So thanks again for joining. This is our program team. Like I said, I'm the director of the program. Zoe Richardson's our associate director. You might have heard from her, or Veronica Schulte, or Lisa Sandoval, who will all help me with day-to-day management of the program. So tonight we'll talk a little bit about the program overview and the curriculum, what skills our students are going to gain from MCiM, who would benefit from the program, how can you apply, and then, as I said, we'll meet members of our MCiM community, and then hopefully potentially have some time for questions at the end. So, the aspiration for this program is that, the HITECH Act was almost over a decade ago now. And the idea was that we were going to use health information technology to connect doctors and patients to more complete and accurate records. Tools like electronic health records and e-prescribing will help patients and doctors make safer, smarter decisions about healthcare. And better technology can also cut costs for providers by reducing paperwork and duplicative tests. It was this incredibly ambitious agenda that President Obama laid out when he signed legislation putting all this in place. And yet, as you look through this, the disappointing thing is that to date, there's very little evidence we've actually achieved these goals. We definitely have records that are electronic, and we definitely have electronic prescribing, but our ability to actually collect information, manage information, use information to make better, smarter, safer decisions is really limited. And in terms of reducing paperwork and duplicative tests, very little evidence that has occurred. So our next slide, Lisa. The goal of our program is to try and tackle this issue head on. And what we thought is that medicine really needs a targeted, intensive approach to knowledge and skills not widely taught in terms of how to shape organizations and take advantage of this evolving digital landscape selfishly for the health sector. Next slide. So MCiM is a full-time master's program here at Stanford, provides a flexible format ideal for working professionals. It's an interdisciplinary curriculum that balances core business disciplines with data and data science and health technology and ethics. And I'll run through the 4 semesters, and as we do that, we'll kind of go through the curriculum, and you'll see the business technology courses and how they interweave throughout the program. And then we'll talk a little bit about the ethics curriculum as well. Next slide. So we start off in the quarter one. Stanford's a 4-quarter, is on the quarter system. Our program runs for 4 quarters or a full calendar year. And it's like I said, it's a full-time program, but we meet every other weekend. So we start out with biodesign for digital health, taught by Kate Rosenbluth. Biodesign is the D school here at Stanford is really famous. The healthcare part of that is biodesign. And this course is actually unique for our program, where we've adapted biodesign specifically to look at applications to digital health and ways in which we could identify target opportunities for digital health solutions. Accounting for managers and entrepreneurs is a core accounting course. In this course, we go over both financial and managerial accounting. So it combines 2 classes into one, and this is a course that is put on by the Graduate School of Engineering. And John Lord's our professor. But basically, this brings you through financial statements and all the way through to things like cost accounting. The third course in the term is Principles of Business Strategy. It's taught by two faculty members, Tip Kim and Linda Hoff. Tip is our vice president for networks here at Stanford and network strategy, has a 19-year experience with LAK and consulting. And Linda is our chief financial officer. And so this course actually addressed issues related to business strategy, applications of business strategy in the healthcare, but also, since they're really senior leaders in the health system, things like governance, how do you work with boards and manage the board process. Really, really well received. They're also in this course talked a little bit about the structure of the healthcare system. And for the incoming class, that's going to be actually a pre-work before you come in. And then finally, in the first quarter, Dave Magnus, who runs our bioethics center here at Stanford, runs a course on bioethical challenges of new technology. And this is a course that runs all year through the MCiM program. David's been having a great time with it. He says our students are the most engaged that he teaches here at Stanford. Looking at really kind of core ethical challenges. For example, when the vaccine mandates came out this summer, they threw out their scheduled curriculum and debated vaccine mandates for the entire class. But we start in the summer with really kind of foundations. How do we think about ethics and ethical principles, and how do we apply them in real world settings? In quarter two, Jonathan Levov teaches our marketing science class. This is a similar class to what we teach in the business school for our core marketing course. Again, with this idea of a healthcare flavor and healthcare focus. Jonathan's got lots of really interesting insights into some of the challenges in the healthcare system from a consumer perspective. And then also consumer behavior and patient engagement, which are really kind of core marketing challenges, spill over into really different ways in which people make decisions in healthcare, either from dealing with senses of loss for life-threatening conditions, or dealing with emotion, as we're seeing lots of treatment decisions that play out. Sarah Singer is a professor both in the medical school and the business school, and she teaches a course in leading and managing healthcare organizations. This is our kind of core management course. And Sarah does a lot of work in terms of technology innovation, more broadly as a very big grant right now looking at computer vision technology and its impact on healthcare workforces. I teach in term two, finishing up my class this weekend. It's called Health IT and Strategy. And basically this is a business strategy class looking at the economics of new technology and their impact on business models. This is all kind of based on a case study format, but really looking at the question of how does technology help improve quality and reduce cost in other markets, and how can we learn from those markets, for the health sector. Next quarter. So when we come back from the winter break, we'll be doing quarter three. We start with corporate financial management taught by Blake Johnson. Blake was on faculty, again, is in faculty in the engineering program, was full-time faculty here at Stanford, went off into the venture capital world, and is going to do both kind of core finance class, but also thinking about how do you manage entrepreneurial finance, like how do you raise money, what kind of metrics do you use to hold managers accountable as you go forward. Nigam Shah is one of the senior data scientists here at Stanford and has a really unique class about data science for medicine. And our objective with this is to look at the world of data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and think about applications in the health sector. Healthcare operations management is taught by Dave Schenker. who also, again, has a footprint both in the engineering school and in the medical school. And Dave's class in operations management also has a very big machine learning bent. But I would say both Dave's class and Nigam's class, really, and all of our classes are taught at a management level. That's the expectations. We're not teaching people to be programmers. In term 3, we start our practicum course, and this is listed in the course catalog as our Social Entrepreneurship and Innovation Lab, taught by Gordon Bloom. And this is really kind of a capstone project in terms 3 and 4. Our students are actually picking these projects now, and this is something that they're going to devote a lot of their time to in the winter and especially the spring quarter. Getting more experience either in an area of healthcare that's really of interest to them, or in working in healthcare organization that they find really attractive. Then finally, quarter 4, we start with modeling biomedical systems, taught by Mark Musin. And this is a really traditional informatics class. Bioinformatics class thinks about data architecture. How do we, collect data, store data, and that's married to our quality and safety in U.S. healthcare class, taught by Kristen Sinani and Regina Nuzio, which is how do we use data? How do we understand data, data reporting, data visualization? And then Gordon, again, this is a big lift for the practicum in this quarter, and then we finish up our ethics program as well. So it's a full-time master's program, pretty intensive, as you can see from all the different pieces of this. But students are well on their way. Like I said, halfway through the program already. They've gotten the workload under their belt and are very excited every weekend they're here in class. So students will complete their Stanford MCiM courses within the Stanford quarters. During the quarters, there are 6 on-site weekends when you come to attend class on Fridays and Saturdays. And so you have a schedule of these well in advance, so you can, schedule it with your employer. On-site weekends occur roughly every other week. And we played a little bit with the schedule to make sure we give you at least a week break between classes and still avoid major holidays. During the weeks when class is not held, students have continued to work on their classes with coursework, group assignments, and projects. And then on top of that, we have program activities as well. And this is an example of an on-site weekend for this semester. Again, Friday we'll start with bioethics, then my class, lunch, you might have a guest lecture, marketing science, leading and managing healthcare organizations. We'd have a dinner on campus and maybe a guest lecture or panel after dinner. Saturday, we start, reverse the calendar. So we start with Sarah's course, then go to marketing, have lunch, and again, finish up the afternoon with my course. So it's a pretty intense kind of weekend experience. But we build in activities again in the evenings on Friday, and most of the time on Saturday afternoons, a lot of the students organize their own activities to blow off a little steam after a big class weekend. Next slide. Our objective through MCiM is that students will really acquire greater understanding of the operational, clinical, and ethical challenges leaders face as they seek to optimize new innovative healthcare solutions. We want to build the management skills, to lead multidisciplinary teams. And specifically, we build our class to give you exposure to people in different aspects of the health sector. We learn to strategically leverage data and technology tools in a variety of different settings. And most importantly, for an executive at, a program for working professionals, We want people to think about how they can immediately apply in-class learnings to advance their careers. So we pick up new concepts on Friday and apply them to work on Monday. And this has already happened, including things like people switching jobs or getting promotions as they're completing the program. You know, we are deliberately mixing the class between people working in the health sector, people working in the technology sector, people working in finance or entrepreneurship. There are physicians and clinicians, Stanford faculty in the program, graduate students, aspiring entrepreneurs. So really interesting mix of people in the classroom. And we deliberately want to have these different perspectives represented to make sure you get the best experience. We value diversity and inclusion. Stanford does, and we do. And the MCiM program touches 3 fields where women and minority groups have been underrepresented in leadership roles in technology, informatics, and medicine. And our charge from the medical school is to make sure that we do everything we can to try and address these disparities and use the program to help really advance the leadership cadre that has the skills to be successful as they go forward. We're also building community, both within the MCiM program, across the Stanford campus, and we've built this really engaging mentor community. One of our mentors is joining us tonight, to people that are leaders in the healthcare field and are available to serve as resources to the students in the program. Beyond the mentor program, you're a full-time graduate student here or full graduate student here at Stanford, and there are all kinds of campus events and guest speakers that people have taken advantage of all the time. So let me turn this over to Lisa to walk through the application process.
Thank you, Kevin. So for our application process, so MCiM, we follow a really robust and holistic admissions process. So we welcome wholeheartedly to have a diverse range of experience and backgrounds within candidates. So applicants will just be asked to demonstrate their academic readiness for this program and their topical interests in, really being interested in MCiM. And so applications should note that we are a summer term start only program. So that being said is that we will start within the summer every single year and we will finish up in the spring. And so currently, if you are looking to apply to MCiM, so you would be going to the Stanford Graduate Admissions Portal to submit that application to MCiM for our program. We currently offer 2 admission rounds. Round 1 has already concluded. And round 2 is currently open. And so currently our deadline for round 2 is January 7th, 2022. And just some of the details that come along with applying to MCiM. So we do have some required materials. We ask for unofficial transcripts. We do have some essay responses. And so on our website, we do have an example of all the different types of questions that we can ask. And so if anyone is interested in that, please let us know. We can send you the link on our website where those are available at. We also ask for a CV, statement of purpose, 3 letters of recommendation, TOEFL scores if applicable, and an application fee. And so MCiM is an eligible graduate degree program for Knight Hennessy Scholars to pursue. Please note that the deadline for Knight Hennessy Scholars application has passed. Students may have the possibility to match their Knight Hennessy Scholarship application with MCiM up until November 30th. So the deadline for that was yesterday, but if you're looking towards the future and you really want to apply moving forward, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you have any questions about Knight Hennessy, we're more than happy to explain that process for you all. And so we definitely have a very detailed section on our website about how this application process looks, especially when every candidate is a little bit different depending if you're an international student or not. So we have a detailed process of that at our website. And you can visit that at mcim.stanford.edu. And that's where you're going to be able to see all those details. And so we did get to our section here a little bit early. And so we're still waiting for 2 individuals from our MCiM community. So I will hold off on introducing them until they're all with us. And so I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of share with you all some backup questions that we may have, and I'll share with you our information if you want to get in touch with us. So additionally for MCiM, we do have some common questions that come through our way as far as, things that we see prospective students asking about. One of those things is, are international students able to apply for this program? And yes, we wholeheartedly welcome international students to apply. We do ask, though, to refer to the graduate admissions website just to ensure, if your academic credentials meet the minimum level of study required. Stanford, as I mentioned earlier with requirements, does require the TOEFL scores for all applicants whose first language is not English. Stanford also requires that all non-citizens or registered permanent residents obtain and maintain appropriate visa status. So those are some of the common areas that we have answered previously for prospective students. So just know we do accept international students, and just in case anyone who's joining us today you are welcome to apply. Additionally, another common question that does come our way is tuition fees. So for fees for this program are set by the university. So during all 4 quarters, students will be taking around 11 to 18 graduate units. We estimate tuition costs for the entire program for the 4 quarters to be around $72,420. Stanford fees and expenses are not all included within that estimate. MCiM is also a CME accredited program, so physicians may consider using CME funding towards costs. If you're a Stanford employee, you may be eligible to use STOP or tuition reimbursement funding towards MCiM as well. And then moving forward for financial aid, that is provided through the Graduate Financial Aid Office. So please make sure to visit their website if you have any additional questions about financial aid. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop questions for now, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce 2 individuals from our MCiM community here. And so just very quickly, I'll introduce them, and then I'll go ahead and stop sharing so that you can visibly see us all on camera. And so first, I want to welcome Wendy Welch. She is our MCiM mentor, and she is the Behavioral Health Medical Director at Centene Health. And additionally, we have a current MCiM student, Rasika Sirpali, with us as well. She's an Imaging Informatics Manager at Stanford Children's Hospital. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing here so that I can go ahead and see you all here. And so thank you so much for joining us, Rasika and Wendy. I'll go ahead and just address the questions that we have for you all to speak to our prospective students at this point. Wendy, I'm going to go ahead and start with you here. And so the question that we had for you, Wendy, is, in being a mentor, what has your experience been with interacting with students? How are you currently engaging with them? And what are just some brief areas that you've provided some guidance in?
Sure. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Kevin, for the invitation to be here. So being a mentor for me has just been such a positive and enriching experience. And I would say the MCiM program is really a community. And by that, I mean, as mentors, even though, we're not faculty, we're mentors, we're volunteer mentors, we participate in panel discussions in the evenings, and then students seek us out individually. And I've had, the great fortune of working with 2 current students, and we meet periodically. The students typically will set that cadence based on the needs that they have. But some of the things that we've talked about in these meetings are really kind of career guidance, because this is a program, obviously, where people work full time. And so one of the common themes has been, how do I take my current career, and how do I weave in what I'm learning in my academics with where I'd like my career to go in the future. And so that's been one focus. And then, you know, as Kevin was mentioning, our students sometimes are physicians like I am, but sometimes they're not, and sometimes they haven't been in healthcare. And for those students, one in particular that I work with, you know, I helped showcase how those business skills that she brings to the table are just incredibly valuable to people like me that are physicians in the industry trying to do good things for patients. And I would also say, you know, that you know, this is a diverse group. And so, you know, I might come with certain clinical skills, but there are people in the business side that know how to do a business presentation, which is very different from how you do an academic medicine presentation. And so I think those are some of the things, you know, that come to mind. You know, Lisa, I don't know what your thoughts are on those things.
No, I think that's fantastic. And, you know, Wendy, as far as your engagement as well with our students after some events that we've had as well has been a highlight, I know, for you, and I think for our students as well, connecting with you in the times that we've had those meetings and those open chat discussions. So we really appreciate having you.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's helps, it actually has enriched, you know, some of the ways that I think about some of the things that I'm solving at Centene. And so, you know, the ways that the students are solving some of their problems that they're coming across in the practicums, you know, I've learned from them also. I mean, it's a two-way street. And I am really grateful for this opportunity to be part of this community. It's a really wonderful, wonderful experience.
Thank you so much for sharing, Wendy. And I do see that Tip has joined us. So Tip, I just wanted to quickly introduce you. So Tip Kim is actually an MCiM faculty member with us. And so he's the Chief Market Development Officer at Stanford Health. And so we're super happy to have you here, Tip. I've already introduced Rasika and Wendy. I'm just going to go ahead and ask Rasika her question next, and then we'll come around to you, okay? And so, Rasika, you are next on my list to ask a question about your experience with MCiM. So, you know, really, how has your experience been so far at being a student, just giving us that perspective? Can you please expand on just how you're able to manage work and study with the rigor of the program?
Yeah, no, thank you, Lisa. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you for having me here. You know, last year around this time, I was one of the prospective students planning to send my application in. And it's very exciting to see our next cohort coming in. You know, cannot imagine it's been a year and so many things have changed. So very happy to be here and answer any questions if, you know, the prospective students have at the end of the session. So I think my experience with MCiM program has been nothing but fabulous. I think it just came at the right time in my career. A few things. I think we should take a moment to appreciate, I think, the wonderfully crafted curriculum that we have, which is so different from other graduate programs, which is such a wonderful blend of business, technology, and medicine. And we are introduced to so many different areas, like be it accounting, be it business strategy, healthcare economics, bioethics. And what it makes us do as students is like look at healthcare problems from all these various lenses. And that's the kind of insight I did not have before joining this program. And I feel it's very important for future healthcare leaders to understand healthcare problems and look at healthcare, to understand all these different aspects of healthcare. I think the second important thing for me that really stands out is, you know, the diversity of the cohort. And that was one of the questions I had for Dr. Schulman when I was about to make that decision as to how diverse this cohort is going to be. And when I mean diversity, I think our cohort is such a great representation of that. You know, I'm talking about geographical diversity, professional diversity, you know, ethnic diversity. And why it is important to me is I feel like diverse teams, you know, look at problems differently. I think they approach solving problems in a very different way. And I think they're more effective. You know, when some of you will, you know, maybe go ahead and work for companies and organizations that have such a global presence, or who knows, you know, you may end up starting organizations that may have global presence. I think having having all those different perspectives, I think is super important. I think that's something that I truly appreciate about this program. And I think last but not the least, I think just the wonderful connections that I have been able to make, be it with faculty, with students, and I think all the industry connections. And I don't think I would have been able to do that, without this program. And I think coming to your second question about how I'm able to manage this, a lot of times it's with a full-time job that's demanding and a full-time master's, sometimes you will have competing priorities. I think what I did pretty early on was, I sat down with my boss. And I think it's super important to have a very supportive employer and a team if you work in a team. And sit them down and make them understand why this is important to you, and how that would benefit their organization. And I think I was pretty fortunate because he also went through a similar program when he was in a similar role as mine. So I think when they are invested, I think things become a lot more easier, during this program. So I think that's one advice that I would give all the prospective students. And I think the second thing would be effective time management. Like I said, there are competing priorities, and I'm a huge planner. I love planning things. So I usually plan, I know what the deliverables are and, what are the assignments. So I like to assign a certain time block for each of these deliverables. I think, sometimes you get carried away because these courses are so fascinating. So it's important to okay, stop. I need to, assign this amount of time for this. So I think being able to manage your time well and effectively, I think is key as a student, especially when you have a full-time job. And also don't forget to have fun. I think your social commitments will look different in this year, but it's also important to have fun. So yeah, I think, that would be my advice.
Thank you so much, Rasika, for that super in-depth, just view of how this program has been for you so far. We really appreciate you providing your perspective on it. Thank you. All right, and Tip, I'm going to go ahead and go on over to you now. So the question that we have for you, Tip, is that can you just speak about your Principles of Business Strategy course in further detail and describe your engagement with MCiM students? How did that look like? And, what was your experience being in the classroom?
No, thank you for having me. So it'll be hard to confuse me with an academic. So I have an MBA, but Linda Hoff, who's the CFO of Stanford Healthcare, and I, as Chief Market Development Officer, are co-taught the Business Principles of Strategy class, and we really try to anchor our class in frameworks that you would learn in an MBA program. But really, what we wanted to do on the margin was to try to present a practitioner's view of the healthcare ecosystem, with all of the real-time strategic trade-offs and decisions, the real decisions that we as a hospital system, as a network, as a player in the healthcare ecosystem need to make. And I think, I think Risky can say otherwise, but I think, what we were successful in doing is provide a very practical view of how real decisions get made and what the trade-offs need to be, and how a living entity goes about making decisions in a complex world with ambiguity, with imperfect data. And we try to make the decisions and the analysis less about being a tasting tour of cool companies that are out there in the healthcare ecosystem, and more about real hard strategic decisions that we have to make as players in the healthcare ecosystem. And I think that initially, I think it's fair to say, it's a little bit from left field. It's not your standard strategy class. And it's not about just case study after case study. But I think the final project was about people choosing their own case, using in teams, using the Amazon 6-page memo construct to present their case and have it peer reviewed. And I got to tell you that the peer review process and the conversation level of conversation and analysis, both by the presenting team as well as the peer review, was on par, I would think, with any sort of consulting study that you would find out there. And I was a consultant for 23 years, and so I have a good sense of the fluff versus real analysis, and really the peer learning of this team, of these teams, of this cohort was pretty spectacular.
That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing, Tip. And so, we have some time here to open the floor for anyone who's joining us to ask any questions to our MCiM community that we have here tonight. I did receive one question already, so feel free, by the way, if you're participating in this Zoom, to either send your message via chat, or if you want me to unmute you, that is also available as well. But I do have a question here in the chat, and this one is for Rasika. So a question that came our way already is, what is one thing that you've learned in the program that you are already implementing in your current role?
A lot of things. I think one thing that really stands out is the course that we have this quarter, which is the Organizational Behavior course by Dr. Sarah Singer. I think the project, I think it was very clever, like for her to have her pick one of the organizational behavior problems that we're experiencing at work, and then, try to analyze that from an organizational behavior standpoint, apply necessary frameworks that we can apply, and then, go back and apply your learning at your workplace. So all of us had to pick an organizational problem. It could be like a leadership problem, a team management problem, and then apply different frameworks for that. So I think one thing is it's like whatever you learn in the class on weekends, you truly apply that during the week. I think that was really powerful. So we're about to finish that paper, and I cannot wait to go back and apply all those learnings at my work in the coming months.
Thank you so much for sharing, Rasika. We do have another question here. It looks like, Kevin, this would be a great question for you to answer. The question is, overall, how is learning assessed with tests, essays, problem sets, a final thesis, etc.? I know every class is a little bit different, so Tip, you can even pitch in on this as well, but I'll go ahead and have Kevin answer first.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's each of the courses is slightly different. So some of the classes are do tests. My class does projects. Tips did projects. So it really depends on the material and the objective of the faculty member, what they want people to get out of that class. So I would say it's a mix of tests and projects. It's all participatory. And so, your participation in class is also a big component of all of the different of all the classes. It's not meant at all to be a passive program, as Tip already talked about. Our objective is to get the students actively engaged in discussion in the class.
Great. And then we do have a question here. It says, I'm a second-year medical student currently looking to enter the program after I finish third-year clinicals. Do you recommend that I apply at that time? What sorts of differences and expectations would you have from an applicant who does not have industry or career experience? And what would you be looking for? Yeah, so
thanks for that. I think after the third year or entering after the third year makes a lot of sense. After the clinical year, just so you're better able to participate in class discussions. We deliberately have in the class, a distribution of experience from people right out of undergraduate all the way through to people pretty senior in their career. So the things that we're going to be looking for are your interest in the topic, your ability to contribute to the discussion in the class, and one thing that unites everybody from the faculty to the students in the class is passion, that everyone's here because healthcare is facing so many challenges, and technology is a pathway for us to really make a significant difference, or maybe the only pathway for us to make a significant difference. And I think that comes across in everything that everyone does.
Yeah, and Wendy, I don't know if you want to pitch on this either, but have you been able to interact with any students who maybe have come from a different industry that is not one that you are super knowledgeable in, but have been able to share, your experience in being in a different area, and how has that gone for you?
Actually, that's what I didn't speak to it specifically, but I have learned so much from one of the students that I'm mentoring, whose background is as a CPA, and she's had some corporate experience also and has a corporate job currently. And she approaches things, her business experience is at a very high level because in her current job, she does a lot of presentations and is responsible for quite a bit. And at the same time, didn't have any healthcare experience. So it was a great partnership in my experience, from my point of view, and what she's told me also, because I learned from her and she learned from me, and I was able to help her see all the strengths that she was bringing or could bring to the group, to the cohort, because there are physicians and clinical people that are not going to have those experiences. And I think it just really enriches the experience versus, if you attend like an MBA program that's only for physicians or only for clinicians. I just think that it really has helped me get sharper, like learning her industry, because I on purpose studied her industry and looked at it and read about it so that when we met, I could help her more. And so then that made me sharper. It was really just such a mutually beneficial experience for me. And I think, like Kevin was saying, this is how we're going to solve the big problems that we have in medicine. It's not going to happen by having silos, of different sort of professions. It's going to happen from programs like this, that have technology as a common language, and then bring that diversity that you heard Rasika talk about. The diversity of age, the diversity of ethnicity, the diversity of degrees and experiences. To me, it feels like this is the beginning of, solving what we've got to solve in this country in medicine. It's a mess. I mean, we all recognize it. I was really happy to hear Tip talk about, that the students solve practical, real current time problems. In my MBA program, that wasn't the case. There was a lot of really good stuff about my MBA program, but one of them was not this, where I had somebody, who's running a hospital health system, teaching a course saying, hey, this is for real right now, something we're struggling with, and I think that's the benefit of something like that. I don't know, Tip, what do you think?
No, I agree. I mean, these case studies, Kevin's, as a notable exception, his case studies are actually pretty current, right? There's a case study of, the year is 1965, and the principle might be applicable, but it's not just the same level of freshness and topical issues. And what were some of the topics that were the final projects? It was a community radiology imaging solution. It was a Medicare Advantage plan, whether that would work. It was a concierge medicine. How do you democratize concierge medicine with technology? It was a specialty pharmacy play. I mean, these are literally the strategic issues that we're facing. And the students were just, they did their own research as well as sort of rely on each other and their own expertise, and the level of conversation and the discourse was spectacular.
Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your pieces. That's fantastic information. I'm going to go ahead and ask a next question that we have here. And so this looks like a good one for you, Kevin, as well. If you're looking for a career change, what kind of positions or jobs can one expect to be qualified for after MCiM?
Yeah, it really kind of depends. I like to think about careers as building on, so what depends what experience you have before you come into the program, and you use the program as additional leverage to move forward. So if you have skills in management that lead you, plus the program leads you down one path. If you have clinical skills, plus the program leads you down different paths. In general, again, we have a very diverse group of people, so we're not looking to place people in one specific aspect of healthcare. We're really preparing them for a variety of different positions across the health sector. But we've seen changes already. I mean, people have already changed jobs even since they started the program with their new skills and their interests. So, I don't have an overall goal. I would say, you want to use a program like this to leverage what you've done before and to think about how to accelerate your career. And that's been the history of this program and the program like this.
And we have another question that came through. This one looks like a great one for Rashika. And so when you are at the on-sites, what is the experience of being there on-site with all the different students, and how have your relationships grown since it started?
Yeah, I think the on-site classes, I think they sort of like brings everyone together because, like I said, everyone is a professional. They have their own, the full-time job, or so I think it's all those little conversations that we have in between classes, or sometimes even hands-on projects that we do during the class. I think with every weekend passing by, I think we have got to know each other really well, I think at a very personal level. And I think the beauty of this program is we end up working with different people on different projects, in different courses. I think it's such a great way because there are very few opportunities otherwise to get in touch and like that in a regular graduate program. So I think we make the best of it. There could be those little conversations that we have during breaks or during lunch. I think we learn so much from each other. So, yeah, I think from my perspective, I think I really look forward to the on-site classes.
It's a fun crew.
Thank you so much, Rashika.
You guys are not boring, that's for sure.
There's a lot of engagement going on for sure on the on-sites. And so another question that we have here is, does our program provide or require the GRE? So I'll go ahead and answer that one for you all. So MCiM does not require the GRE scores for applying. Students are more than welcome to include it if they feel like it would help benefit their application. Due to our, holistic admissions process that I mentioned earlier, we really just rely on your overall experience, your academic background. And so, that way there really isn't a minimum GPA for us or GRE scores that are required. We really just want to see your overall experience. And that is how we take every applicant, how we consider you moving forward. And so I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up here. I appreciate you all for joining us tonight. A huge shout out to Tip, Wendy, and Rashika for joining us and giving your personal experience with our students. And as I mentioned in the chat, if you're a prospective student looking to join MCiM, we are available at all times. If you have any questions or would like to chat with our team about your personal experience, we're always available. You can email us at mciminquiry@stanford.edu. And so, Kevin, I'll pass it on over to you to close us for this evening.
No, I want to join you in thanking Tip and Wendy and Rashika for joining us tonight. And thank you all for joining. all of us are really enthusiastic about the program and excited by, the class that we have today, and really excited by the class that's shaping up for next year. So it's hard to think about. Don't worry, Rishika, we're not replacing you yet. It's hard to think about a one-year program. We're just getting to meet the current students and already working on next year's class. But you're going to have so much fun as a alum, Rishika, you won't have to worry about it, and no homework. So thank you all very much for joining. And as Lisa said, let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.